Hey y'all, welcome to The Incubus, where I like to read, rank, and review books. My name is Priscilla Tess, and this video is my deep dive into Happy Place. In my previous video, I just did a spoiler-free little short review with synopsis and rankings, and so if you haven't read the book, you probably should go back and check out that other video of mine just to get a spoiler-free video. But this video is going to have spoilers. I am talking about everything in the book. This is like a book club type reading where I go over things that I liked, character development, story plot lines, major themes. So again, last chance. This is this has spoilers in this video, so if you haven't read the book, you might want to go check out my previous video on Happy Place by Emily Henry. Let's get into it. So first thing is, even though this was a rom-com and is supposed to be a light and delightful read, the main character, Harry, I connected to in many different ways, and because of that, it really hit me hard. Some of the ways that I connected to Harry was I also went into medicine initially. I come from a mother who is a nurse practitioner. My oldest sister is a surgical PA. My brother is now a doctor. We grew up talking about surgeries and cases around the dinner table. So I really had a passion for medicine, and I had every intention of following my oldest sister's path and becoming a surgical PA. But various things in my life made it harder to do. One of the reasons why it took me so long to start this channel is because I wanted to be real with it and be vulnerable and open. And sometimes that's really hard. Like, I sit down and I start this video and I'm like, I really don't want to say that, but here goes. I mean, this is the reason why I started it, is to have like this virtual book club and to open up about why books really resonate with me and hopefully get your feedback on how it resonates with you. But one of the reasons why I no longer could pursue medicine in the way I wanted to was because I wanted to do surgery. Surgery was a passion of mine, still is. I love it. I still read medical journals and newspapers and things that my brother's like, I've read this, do you want to read it? I'm like, yes, I do. I realized very quickly into my education that I have arthritis, and I've had it since a little girl. And someone close in my life who was helping me on my path to become a surgical PA made the comment that my hands were losing their ability to maybe do that job. And it hit me hard to be in that position where I either had to continue with just clinicals, which I wasn't passionate about, but still could use my education, or give it up altogether, because plain and simple, my body wouldn't be able to keep up with the career path that I was currently on. And so when Harry gave up her dreams of working in medicine, I was like, wow, I really get that. I really feel that. And you feel like you've wasted so much, and it really hurts. And you feel like you've lost your sense of worth or your sense of purpose, because, you know, that was a huge thing. Like, so many people invested in me financially and emotionally and psychologically, and to let them down, I really connected with Harry with that. It was hard to read because I was like, dang, it's hitting me in the feels. But that's something that Emily Henry does so well. She takes these little things that a lot of people might skate over and be like, oh, that's sad, or that's weird, or that was uncomfortable, but really resonated with some of her readers, because I'm sure I'm not the only person that had to give up a career that we loved or we thought we might love because of life circumstances. And I can understand feeling like you're going to disappoint everyone in your life when you do that. Second thing is how Harry was raised is very similar to my own, maybe not in a lot of ways, or not exactly, but her parents did not have a happy marriage. Mine now currently do. They have a great marriage. I mean, it's not perfect. They're both retired now and kind of getting on each other's nerves, but they're loving each other at the same time, and it's so wonderful to see. But in high school and in college times, my parents were off again, on again. And it was tumultuous. And then even as a young girl, I remember hearing the fights through the bedroom walls. I remember, you know, having to walk on the eggshells because they were mad at each other. And if you even squeaked your chair too loud, you might get fussed at because of that. And it was a very a timid time growing up. You had to learn how to read the room very well, because you never knew what you were walking in on or what the undercurrent was unless you stopped and paid attention. And so I also connected with Harry like that. Now my parents have a wonderful marriage now, like I said, so it's not exactly the same as Harry's. But I'm going to tie all this in together in a little bit. But because of how we were raised, because of the environment in which we were raised, communication wasn't always encouraged, or maybe it wasn't the correct form of communication wasn't taught or instilled on us. You know, my parents fought all the time. It was not a, hey, let me try and understand your perspective. It was, well, you don't agree with me, so you're wrong, and you don't agree with me, so you're wrong, and let's butt heads. Also taught me to be very quiet and again, read the room, kind of have that wall up against everybody else until I really knew what everybody's interaction was. And growing up, a lot of times I got labeled as maybe standoffish or snooty, but it's not because I didn't want to interact with people. I was waiting for the other shoe to drop constantly and never felt comfortable in social engagements and interactions. So I don't do well with communication on a regular basis. Like, my husband has really been great in teaching me how to communicate, especially when we don't see eye to eye, because my knee-jerk reaction is like, psh, fine, you do you, I do me, and we don't have to talk about it anymore. But that's not really a healthy way of communicating with people, especially when you care about them and you want to foster a relationship. And so one of the things that she does, Harry, is that emotional and communication shuts down. Like, your emotions and your communication shut down when your emotions are high, whether that's a happy high or a sad time. Like when her and Wynn broke off their engagement. In the book, she shuts off from her friends and her family. And I get that because she's processing. Not only that, but you're scared to tell everybody else because you're very much worried about how it'll affect them. Again, because of your upbringing, you know, you're walking on eggshells constantly. And like, what if this news tips someone else over? And you don't want that backlash. And that's very selfish and not selfish at the same time. You're truly worried about how it impacts others. But at the same time, you're worried about it because you don't want that friction. And because of all that, the best way you know how to do is just to shut off emotions and communications. So she very much did that with her friend group. And thankfully, she has a wonderful group of friends that kind of know that about her, and that's what clued them in that something wasn't right in her life, whether it was her career or her relationship with Wynn. Those friends knew her well enough to know that what was going on. And so those were some of the key ways that I felt like I was reading a variation of my own life story or my own background with Harry, because it was so much like my own. And I know I'm not the only one out there, and I'm sure that's why this book has been so popular, is because I think Harry and Wynn both resonate with many readers. I know a lot of people in my generation and in older generations, emotions aren't encouraged. Like, you're supposed to put on your happy face anytime, happy place, happy face, anytime you are out in public or around people. You know, the hi, how are you? It's not the opening questions to spill your problems. Your response needs to be, oh, I'm good, how are you? You know, go to your room if you're angry. As a parent, that's what you say. You know, if you're angry, if you're pitching a fit, go to your room. You can't be out here with that. And while I respect that, and I think that there is a good lesson to be learned with that, I think we've taken it too far, at least with my generation and back. It has conditioned us to not express our emotions, and that emotions are a bad thing, especially for males. Like, and I'm here in the Deep South, and this is very true from where I'm at. Men don't have any other emotions other than the male ones, like aggression or anger or frustration or protectiveness. Those are the good emotions that a man can show, but certainly not vulnerability or sadness or joy to the point of tears. Like, men are not like that. You have a baby in the Deep South, and you've got a few men that'll be like, oh, that's great, that's a baby, but otherwise it's like, good job, had a baby. Like, that's what you get a lot of times here in my area and in my culture. And so she really resonates with me, and I'm sure she resonates with other people because of that shut off emotional barrier that she has erected, even from her closest people, her family and her friends. And last with my connection with Harry is how our friends help mature us in communication. I've already mentioned how my husband has so much, but it really started with my friends. I never knew comfort in expressing any kind of emotions with anybody other than maybe my mom, maybe my sisters, and that was pretty much it. And Harry's friends helped mature her to talk, to share. You know, you saw it in college, how she was pretty shut off and goal-oriented, and then she meets these group of people and they're kind of in her face and it's a little bit like, woo, that's a lot, but they bring her out, her true self. They didn't change her by any stretch of the imagination. They helped her express who she truly was, and my same group of friends did that. I am super close to my college crew, and there's a group of us from college that go to Hilton Head Island every year for a beach trip. We might be changing our destination soon, but that's, you know, we call ourselves the Hilton Head crew. And then I've got a few others from college, mainly my big sister and some people that I really connected with. Big sister as in sorority, don't hate, they're great. But I really connected with them, and these people were instrumental in helping me mature in my communications, just like Harry did. And I see my friends in these characters in this book, and God, it just made me miss my friends, and it made me so appreciative. And you know what's crazy? Even as I'm making this video, I'm sitting here thinking, I have never told my friends how much they have helped me and how they have helped me grow. And I'm sitting here making this video talking about it and realizing, oh, you know, that's probably something you should share with your friends. It's like, hey, thank you for helping me. And I loved seeing Harry grow in that way with her friends. And even now, this book is impacting me, and I've read this a while back now. It's impacting me as I think about it and talk about it, and I can see Harry's walk through that as well. Okay, so let's move on from why I resonated so much with this book. I really want to talk about Harry and Wynn's romance. I thought this was great. Emily Henry hooked us right from the get-go. At least for me, I was instantly intrigued by their romance. However, after finishing the book and after ruminating on it for a little bit, just like a lot of the rom-coms, I came away with some feelings of that's not really realistic. Now, let me give this caveat. I still think this is a great rom-com, and as far as rom-coms go, a very realistic one. But this is the discussion that I wanted to have on this book, and on many books, like some of the nitty-gritty things that, like if you were sitting around a coffee table and having a book club meeting, that this is something that might be broached. This is a subject that might be talked about, how we liked it and how we didn't like it. But yeah, after the book was over, the romance kind of lost a little bit of its glow for me. But again, as a rom-com goes, I think that's why we love it so much. Women, or maybe, I don't want to genderize this, when books are written with a couple imagined, the one partner is usually very similar to women. For example, I'm going to have to genderize this because I'm not very good about not genderizing it. So let me just start. Usually, okay, so we have a female writer writing a female character with a relationship with a male. Inevitably, that male character tends to start to be effeminate in some ways because it's a female writer trying to make this relationship perfect. And the only way a lot of times as females, and I'm going to speak for myself especially, we try and push ourselves onto our partner so they can get it, they can grasp it. And when you're reading this and when you're developing a character, or when you're reading a book about a character, you know, Wynn started to take on feminine attributes. And in hindsight, after I've read it, I'm like, well, that's not like Wynn's character initially. Like, he kind of grew throughout the book. And at the end, he was more like Harry than he was like Wynn. And that's some of the glow, that's why some of the glow wore off. I'm reading my notes on everything. And it's like a female's fever dream of what a perfect relationship should be. And I loved it when I was reading it. But of course, afterwards, I was like, well, you know, no man is actually going to do that. Now, after moving on from the romance, and that was really, I didn't go very deep into that, but I think it's because it's a rom-com, we expect these type of things. The next kind of big note, I want to talk about some of the things that happen in the book that I loved. Cleo jumping into the pool naked. That was awesome. And I think it was such a great tool that was used by Henry to show how close these friends are. The nudity didn't faze them, and it wasn't something like, oh, that was inappropriate. It was just, these people are not just friends, they're family. There are very few inhibitions with them. And when they're feeling great and having a wonderful night, that joy just bubbles out in various ways. And it was a great thing to see. And it had me laughing, literally laughing out loud. And if you're super close to friends, you can understand how freeing that moment is when you're just completely yourself. There's nothing else that you're hiding from these people, and you just jump into a pool naked. And I thought that was great and a clever way of illustrating how close this friend group was. And also that freeing moment that when they let go of all the real life pressures that are on them, because they all have really heavy things that they're dealing with, that freeness is given to them because of their friendship circle, because of that security and that buffer, and they're able to let go of the heaviness just for a little bit and enjoy who they really are with these people that mean so much to them. So that was just a great scene in the book that I just loved it. And again, it harkened back to my close group of friends in college. You know, I lived in this tiny little duplex, and you know, some of my friends would just open the door and walk in. I'm braless and a t-shirt, I'm studying. You know, I was very, very studious, very nerdy. And they'd be like, hey, we haven't seen you in forever. It's time to put the books away, put on a bra, we're all hanging out. And I'm like, all right, this is great. And so it just made me, God, this book made me miss my friends so much. And if you have friends, I'm sure like, this is one of those books that you're like, oh, if you're a reader, I would have you read this book, or let me tell you about this book because it's our friend group. And it was just really, really great. I want to talk about some of that friendship that made me feel comfortable and realize it's not just me and my friends that are like that. You know, my friend group is both with males and females. There's that comfort though that's there that I don't have to worry about thinking that some of these guys in my friend group that think that I'm flirting with them. You know, when I'm comfortable, I am very outlandish. I am very physically affectionate. I hug on people. I cuddle. I am very physically affectionate with people that I'm comfortable and with people that I really love and have a close relationship with. But with this friend group, there's no fear that I'm crossing a line. Now, sure, there are lines you could cross, but like, if I need a towel, I can open up the bathroom and be like, hey, so-and-so, can you bring me a towel? And it wouldn't faze me at all if one of the guys from my friend group like stuck his hand into the bathroom and be like, oh, here's your towel. Like, there's very few barriers there that enable you to feel super close with these friends. And I saw that in the friend group with Harry and Wynn's friend group. They are that close. They get in each other's business, like really in each other's business, because there's that comfort level there, and that comes with knowing people so well and having that security in that friend group. And it's just, God, if you have that, they are your family. You know, without a doubt, I keep my friend group close. All of us are very understanding. We might not talk for months, and it might be getting close to Christmas time, and we have to FaceTime to have a Christmas party because they're stretched literally across the country, and some not even in the country. So there's time and distance and space doesn't matter when you have family like this. And I loved this book and how that is very realistically portrayed. Some things also that I didn't really like about the book was the plots. I knew Sab was behind all this. Now granted, I thought Cleo was in on it too, but I called it from the get-go. Even at the airport, I was like, she knows something. Well, like when she's picking up Harry, I was like, oh, she knows. And so like, that's something I didn't like. Now I don't really know, and y'all can tell me, I don't really know if that was me just, I've read so many books that you kind of learn what to call and what not to call, or if it was just, there were hints that were laid there that I think maybe shouldn't have been laid out. Sab's breaking down and over her friends moving away. I felt like there should have been more lead up to that. She's such a put on my perfect face type character that it felt like it went from 0 to 90, and I wish there were a few more cracks that show. Maybe that's her character though. Maybe she doesn't show cracks and it's like there's a long fuse and then a big bomb. But I do wish that there had been a little bit more there to kind of clue you in that there are cracks in her armor, other than just kind of feels like out of place to me. But even so, there were a lot of real things, like when Sabrina did have her breakdown and her friends still circled around her. I know every single one of us, when we have a friend or a family member, you could be so mad, but if they called you and said, hey, I need you, you'd be there, like mad or not. And even like if you're patting them on the shoulder being like, I'm so mad at you, you brought this on yourself, you still love them and you're still there. So I thought that was very realistic. Let me see. So that, I think those were some really clever use of the scenes. Again, I wish the breakdown had a little bit more, a few more cracks before it happened, because it did feel like to kind of punch me out of nowhere. The death of Hank, oh man, that threw me. I did not see that coming. I don't know why, because I feel like in hindsight, I feel like I should have known a death was coming. You always need some kind of catalyst, but it just threw me that it was Hank, and I was so upset. Now, Hank is nothing like my daddy. My daddy is a typical Southern man. We do not express emotions. We call him Grandpa, because even when he is holding a grandbaby, it's this the whole time. He smiles in pictures like this. He's very stoic. So Hank is just nothing like my daddy, but I couldn't help but feel like that was my daddy. Like, it hurt. I was so upset. But I understood the breakup so much better after hearing that. So yeah, that one came out of left field for me. Let me see, because the last thing I really want to talk about is the depression. I feel like this needs a little bit of a discussion. And okay, so I've hit everything else I wanted to talk about. Depression is a sensitive topic for me personally, because I have battled with it off and on for a long time. Even back being a kid, a small kid, I remember sitting on stairs and being like, I'm really upset and I don't really understand why I'm upset. Like, I can, in hindsight, I remember being young, like 7 or 8, and feeling these emotions. And in college, it really hit me hard. There was a lot of stuff going on that just shook me. And even being in the medical field with a minor in psychology, I still didn't understand that what I was experiencing was depression. And I ended up connecting with another good friend of mine who helped me realize that that's what I was feeling, and that she felt it too. It was something that she battled with. And I think so many people have problems with depression, and I think it's a scale. I don't think all depression is an automatic suicidal tendency thing. And I think some people have more of a physical depression rather than an emotional, just a lack of motivation, can't seem to get things done. And even though, like, mentally and emotionally you feel happy, good things are happening in your life, but for some reason there's that physical weight that is really weighing you down. So seeing the depression card played in Happy Place, I was already really connecting to this book. I was already thinking about my friends from college that really influenced me and helping me, and I was already in that place and kind of reminiscing about some of the things that I experienced in college, including depression, when that was thrown out there. And y'all, it hit me hard. I didn't see it coming. It was one of those things that I was surprised. I was like, there are some red flags all through here, especially for Wynn and for Harry. I feel like those depression flags were there. And again, I missed it. Someone who has owned the fact that I have depression and that I battle it off and on throughout my life. Someone that has been, I've been really trying to be an advocate for people with depression, helping them recognize it, helping people to see it as not something that, oh, just get your happy pants on, like quit moping around, go help people. That's how you feel better, you should go help people. And while there's some truth to that, there's sometimes you need help when your chemical balance in your body is out of balance. So that's something that I've really been passionate about in my life. And this still surprised me so much. And it's not because the writing wasn't there. It's not because the character and the plot development wasn't there. It just, I was so wrapped up in how wonderful of a story this is, that depression, real life problems came at me out of nowhere. And this is why Emily Henry is a genius to me for taking a rom-com. And if you really dig into it, and even so, like depression, you didn't have to dig deep into this book to have depression show up. But this is a book that you can dig deep and dig deep and dig deep, and she just lays the foundation for it. And I think this is a great book club book for many reasons, but mainly because of this one. This one can open some doors to have some really great discussions, because there are some hidden red flags there. Depression manifests itself in so many different ways. And again, I am someone who for 15 years has been trying to be an advocate for people with depression, and I still missed it. So I loved this. I think this is a good book to start that discussion. And I would love, I'm just starting my channel. I really don't expect people to see this video, but maybe one day, if I keep at this and I happen to get subscribers and happen to get a following, people will see this video and be like, depression, man, I wish I could talk about this. And maybe this can help you start a conversation with somebody, or leave a comment. I will be happy to respond to it. This is a big issue for people. We have a lot of mental health problems in our culture, and I think this is just one great way of battling it, of using this as a tool, as a resource to help people with depression and see that it's commonplace and it's not this big, bad, ugly thing. It is common. Most people feel it at some point throughout their life, whether it's major or minor. So this book, I think, can really help a lot of people, and it makes it so much more than just a romantic comedy that you can read on the beach or on vacation. It can really help connect to people and change lives. At first, when I was making my notes, I was like, man, there was not enough plot or character development to see this depression coming. But then I went back and looked at the book again, and I was like, no, it was there. It was there. And so how often do we do that with our friends, with our family, with ourselves? So, and then my next note was, isn't that how real life depression does with people? Those of us with it hide it well. Those of us with it might not even know that's what we're dealing with. And I know, again, like Harry, I put up those emotional walls, those emotional barriers, and when I am in depression, I back off real quick from my friends. In fact, I have a really good friend who, in my friend group, and she knows when I start to pull away from group texts, or I stop Marco Poloing, or I stop getting involved in everyone else's life. She messages me almost every single time. She's like, hey girl, mental health checkup, how you doing? Talk to me. And if I don't respond, she calls me and she bugs me. She is my accountability partner, and I don't think she even realizes it. But I did open up to her once in a book club because of another book that I am going to do a review on. But it hit me hard, and I broke down at book club, and some of these people I'd only known for a month, which was a huge thing for me. But I said, this is my pattern of behavior. And so I feel like this book could be like that book that I had in book club. It opens doors to help you get someone to hold you accountable, because depression is sneaky. It's a sneaky little evil thing, and it can really affect people, and you need those little tiny doors to open up and help you talk about it, and Happy Place does that. However, here's the thing I did not like about Happy Place. This is my #1 critique. Wynn goes off, and within a few short months, figures out he has depression, figures out a plan of care for himself, and successfully implements one medication and is all better. I am not sure that is realistic at all. In fact, I think that's a scary message to send to readers. Here, Emily Henry, I respect this. Again, this is not saying this shouldn't be written. I'm not saying let's boycott this book. I do think everybody should read it. However, I think this was kind of a dangerous message to send, that depression is an easy fix, because that's exactly how it was written. Now, should I take into consideration that it is a rom-com? Yes, I think that should be considered. However, I think everyone, in order to make the change that we need to see in our culture, especially concerning mental health, is we need to be careful how we portray certain situations. And him getting the help he needed and successfully implementing a medication that works for him is very unrealistic. Most of us go through medication after medication after medication before we find something that works. Not only that, but you have to battle yourself to actually take it. A lot of times you're like, I don't need it. I just need to make some lifestyle changes, or I just need to get through this, or I started this medicine, can't tell any changes, so I quit it before gave it a chance to actually work. As someone who used to work in the medical field, we see it all the time. Well, I took the medicine, it didn't work, so I stopped it, and now I feel even worse. Well, that's because that's not how medications are made. Or I took the medication, I started feeling better, so I stopped taking the medication, and then they go even further back than they were before. And it's a lack of education, it's a lack of knowledge, not lack of education like you're ignorant, you don't know. It's something that I think the healthcare system has not done a great job about educating patients on. And so I really am concerned with that message, especially to people who are really struggling with depression, and they see that and be like, well, he got his fix. I will never find my fix. I will never be better. And so I'm a little concerned about that message that it sends. It is a concerning message. It is a rom-com. You do have a timeline you need to stick to. You do want to end it on a happy note, and when going through 2 years of trying to make his changes and fix his life and take the medication and the therapy that he needs to get better, that might not be a great ending to a rom-com. So I see the need to kind of expedite the process. Again, I think my biggest thing is what kind of message are we putting out there, because you grab the attention of people who have depression or might have someone close to them that has depression, and then we give them this beautiful ending where, oh, in just a few months you could be better. We just got to get you on that medicine. And so I'm a little concerned with that. So I'm going to end it there. I know these videos are longer. You don't have to watch the whole thing. If you're looking for a book club and you want to talk to someone about it, I am here. That's why I'm making these, is because I really love to have these deep discussions on these books. That's why it's named The Incubus. We are diving into the abyss on these books, and we really go deep. And I just love that, because I feel like there's so much more than just lies on the page. There's so much more to dig deep into. I like to end these out with some questions, because I would love to get people's feedback. Did anybody relate to another character or to Harry or Wynne? Did you connect with, and why? Do you have a close-knit group of friends, and is it anything like the ones that we saw in Happy Place? Because I feel like a lot of people do have these friend groups, and this is what it's like in real life. Depression leaves scars. Do you know someone with depression? Do you yourself struggle with depression? Did this book help you with that in any way? Did it help you realize that you maybe have depression, or maybe it's causing you to be like, hey, maybe depression's what's wrong with my spouse. Maybe depression is what's wrong with my child. My parents, I think a lot of times my parents both battled with depression and just did not know. Growing up, and them getting some help and some marriage counseling and some therapy sessions changed their lives. And I really think that might be something that people need to be brought to their attention. So if that has happened, I'd love to hear your feedback. Drop a comment. I'd like to hear what you have to say about it. But that brings me to the end of the Happy Place, and in our deep dive to Happy Place, stay tuned, because I have another book coming your way that I'm going to be doing a review, and September is around the corner, so I'll be doing my big book review on August 31st of all the books that I read in August, and some honorable mentions that I didn't get to that I wish I had. And then September, I'm going to be revealing my September theme here on the end of our August 31st video. So I thank you for watching, and like and subscribe to this video if you liked my content and would like to see more. Thank you.